Looking for a thrill, I took a job as a warden on a remote, desolate planet. It houses the craziest, most unhinged elites in the galaxy. The previous wardens all fled, unable to handle the pressure. They left behind only one line in big, bold red letters: never, ever open the prisoners' doors. Just when I thought this job was going to be deadly, I discovered that all the prisoners inside were actually cute, fluffy animals. Plus, I have to deliver their meals by 9 o'clock every morning. I checked the time. I still had over an hour, so I quickly skimmed through the management manual the former warden left behind. The prisoners locked up in here aren't just vicious criminals, they're top-tier elites with massive psychic power. But they're on the brink of a mental breakdown, and they can lose their grip on reality at any moment. When that happens, they become incredibly destructive. No wonder the last warden ran away so fast. Half an hour later, I arrived at the prison's cell block. I checked the name tags on the cell doors and started delivering the corresponding meal boxes one by one. Cell number 1 was Yu Youwei. I took a peek inside. All I saw was a white lion lying on the bed, accompanied by a butler robot. This lion was massive and majestic, currently curled up on the bed in a lazy heap. Its tail was flicking back and forth. It must have sensed my gaze. The white lion lifted its head slightly, its deep blue eyes staring at me from afar. It opened its mouth and said, "Many thanks for the meal, Warden." I suddenly remembered the setting of this novel, when psychic collapse becomes severe. Beastkin revert to their primal forms. So, from the looks of it, Yu Youwei's psychic collapse must be quite serious. I couldn't help but take a few more looks at the lion. Thinking about how soft that fluffy fur must feel, I set the meal down at the service window and I turned to head to the next one. Cell number 2 was Bai Ningbing. I peered inside and was instantly stunned. A giant bird was standing there, looking into a mirror and preening its feathers. Its long feathers looked like flowing silk, absolutely exquisite and beautiful. Bai Ningbing could sense the infatuation and awe in the eyes of the male at the door, and couldn't help but lift her head haughtily. She gave a cold scoff. "Ignorant male. Keep your eyes to yourself." At those words, my mouth twitched, and I sheepishly set down the corresponding meal at the window. I turned and left immediately. Cell number 3 had a label on the door. Ye Liuli. The security door was semi-transparent, but it was pitch black inside. Is there nobody in there? Curious, I pressed my face against the security door to get a better look. Right then, a pair of glowing green, bell-sized eyes emerged from the darkness. It gave me such a fright that I quickly scrambled back 2 steps. Then, a jet black panther with glowing green eyes walked up to the security door. Its eyes held a cold, superior majesty as it looked down at me in disdain. I rubbed the goosebumps on my arms, my scalp tingling, and rushed to the next cell as soon as I dropped off the food. Haha, what a coward. As soon as I got close, I heard mocking laughter from inside. I looked up. My previous frustration instantly vanished. Oh my god, such a huge, adorable, fluffy bunny. And that bunny was talking. Its long whiskers on both sides were twitching, probably from the laughter. It bared its sharp fangs as if it had just noticed me coming over. It wanted to keep hissing at me. "What are you looking at?" Even though she looked fierce and menacing on the surface, she was actually quite cute and soft. My heart just about melted. I took a quick look. Her name is Lu Mei, and she really has that youthful, teenage girl vibe. My hands felt a bit restless, but then I saw Lu Mei still baring her fangs at me. So, I regretfully put down the meal and didn't linger. When I walked to the last cell, my eyes lit up again. I saw a red nine-tailed fox soaking in a hot spring inside. As if sensing I had arrived, the red fox lazily rested her head on her paws. Her long, narrow eyes tilted upward, and a smile curved at the corners of her lips. "The new warden, huh? What's your name?" The sound of the red fox's voice was like rich, mellow wine. It felt like a feather brushing against my ear. I suddenly understood what people mean by eargasm, and I couldn't help but rub my ears. "My name is Jiang Liyuan." What a beautiful name. A low, deep chuckle vibrated in the red fox's throat, making my ears feel even more ticklish. I kept my eyes fixed on the nameplate on the door, not daring to look around. My mind was completely focused on the name written above, Yu Youwei. Real femme fatale, I felt too shy to stay any longer. I set down the meal and said in a rush, "This is your breakfast, ma'am. I'll be going now." As I walked back, I passed through the original detention area again. I felt several pairs of eyes on me, each of them watching me with a mix of scrutiny and curiosity. Looking back, it seems only the white lion in the first cell felt truly gentle to me. The others don't seem like the type to be trifled with. I headed back to the warden's office. Suddenly, something crossed my mind, and I couldn't help but look up Yu Youwei's name. After a long moment, I finally understood why that name felt so familiar. Yu Youwei, the most decorated and distinguished young major general in the empire. In the book by Transmigrated Inta, there was a brief mention of her. She was the hero whom the male protagonist admired. She was also the most popular among the males in the entire galaxy. But in the end, because her psychic power was too high, and she lacked the comfort of a male companion, her mind collapsed and she passed away. She became the white moonlight, the unattainable ideal, in the male lead's heart. I thought back to the white lion in the prison, and couldn't help but feel a sense of pity. For a female to regress into a beast form means their time is running out. The ladies in these cells all seem to be in very serious conditions. As the new warden, I should at least do what I can to make sure they are comfortable when they eventually go. With that in mind, I opened the warden's handbook and continued to read. But the words started to look like hypnotic symbols, and as I read, my vision began to blur. Before I knew it, I had closed my eyes, and the warden's office fell into a deep silence. Right then, the hair on top of my head shifted slightly. A small, greenish-blue mushroom popped out. It wiggled its body a couple of times, then nimbly jumped off my head and hopped away, flying toward the depths of the prison. At that moment, all the beasts in the prison were eating their breakfast. Bai Ningbing had transformed into her human form. She was one of the few whose mental stability hadn't collapsed as severely, so she could occasionally take human form. As she was eating breakfast, she suddenly thought of something and laughed. That new warden is a bit of a dork, but he actually has pretty good taste. He knows how to appreciate my beauty. Hearing this, Lu Mei agreed, looking at it that way. Lu Mei chimed in, looking at it that way. Well, it looks like things aren't going to be so boring after all. She paused. Unable to resist, she peeked towards cell number 5. Yan Youwei, the new warden. Is his name Jiang Liyuan? Yan Youwei muttered, eating breakfast while soaking in the hot spring. Still, this beast form is honestly anything but convenient. A flicker of gloom swept through her eyes. Irritated, she tossed the cutlery aside, clearly in a bad mood. Her tone wasn't exactly gentle as she snapped, "Didn't you hear me? You're too close. I was just asking." Lu Mei couldn't help but pout. She felt annoyed too. Just then, the sound of a plate shattering echoed through the prison. Bai Ningbing called out anxiously, "Major General Yu, what's wrong?" Hearing that, the others in the prison immediately stopped eating and walked to their doors. They looked toward cell number 1 with worried expressions. "What happened?" Bai Ningbing spoke up. "The Major General's mental stability seems to have deteriorated even further. She's tearing up the bed now." Once those words were out, everyone's heart sank. Over the last few thousand years, the galaxy has seen much upheaval, with humans evolving into the more powerful beastkin. But while humans evolved, other creatures did too. The once insignificant insectoids became the galaxy's greatest menace, the Zerg. These Zerg release toxins and interference waves that disrupt mental strength. The higher a beastkin's mental power, the more sensitive they are, which is exactly why the strongest ones are most prone to mental collapse. Yu Youwei has had the most contact with the Zerg in the front lines, so her mental collapse is the most severe. Right now, the white lion's eyes are filled with bloodshot crimson. She couldn't help but run frantically around the room, tearing apart everything in sight. The interior of the cell was already in shambles. She then fixed her gaze on the prison door, hurling her body against it tirelessly. Watching the white fur on the lion turn crimson, Bai Ningbing said anxiously, "What do we do? If this keeps up, next time, she'll tear herself apart and die." Hearing this, Ye Liuli frowned and said, "It's useless. These cells were designed specifically to keep us locked in. The worse the mental collapse, the higher the security level." Lu Mei couldn't help but chime in. "Are we just supposed to watch her kill herself by slamming into the door?" "We could contact the Imperial Rescue Team," she said. Just hearing the sounds made her feel sick. The entire prison seemed to be trembling along with her, as if in mourning. Yan Youwei's voice turned icy, naive. "We were abandoned by the Empire a long time ago. As long as we don't get out and cause trouble, dying here is what they consider the best ending. Your Highness, don't you think I'm right?" Ye Liuli's emerald eyes narrowed slightly. She looked toward cell number 1, remaining silent. Yet, her silence confirmed it all. This was simply the truth. The only way to leave this place is to solve the mental collapse. But that is fundamentally impossible. At this moment, the white lion's fur was already largely covered in red. A large pool of blood also trickled from the reinforced door. Bai Ningbing turned her eyes away, reddened with emotion. She couldn't bear it. Yu Youwei was not only the idol of countless males in the galaxy. She was also the person she respected most. Once, a young Yu Youwei had single-handedly taken on thousands of Zerg. Famous in a single battle, saving tens of thousands of refugees. Once high-spirited and idolized, now left here in this prison to wait for death. But no one noticed a green mushroom slipping through the security door. Then, it hopped onto the white lion's head and burrowed inside. 10 seconds later, the mushroom seemed to have grown quite a bit. It crawled back out of the white lion's head, its color turned to red. It blended perfectly into the fur soaked with the white lion's blood, and then tiny green fluorescent lights began to emerge from her body. Slowly, they seeped into the white lion's frame. Meanwhile, the white lion's crazed, blood-red eyes slowly began to regain a hint of clarity. They gradually shifted to blue, but perhaps from losing too much blood. Yu Youwei felt lightheaded and dizzy, her eyelids growing heavy. Her massive beast form collapsed to the ground, and the red mushroom on her head was caught off guard. It was flung several meters away, rolling across the floor. Yun shook its mushroom cap flat, then quickly slipped through the wall and vanished. The sound of the white lion hitting the floor was like a thunderclap, exploding through the empty prison. Bai Bingbing stared fixedly at the white lion and shouted nervously, "Major General Yu, can you hear me?" Seeing that Yu Youwei still hadn't responded, she glared fiercely at number 1. The robotic butler in the cell. She yelled in anger. "Number 1, what are you just standing there for? Hurry up and treat Major General Yu." Number 1 received the order, its mechanical eyes blinking. It rolled quickly over to the white lion's side, its mechanical arms effortlessly lifting the massive white lion into the room's medical pod. Number 1, is the Major General still alive? After asking this, she didn't even dare to listen for the answer. The others also seemed to hold their breath in unison, waiting for the robot's reply. Number 1's eyes flickered for a moment. Its cold, mechanical voice even carried a hint of human-like relief. Major General's injuries are mainly severe surface wounds. She is still alive. Upon hearing this, the prison, which had been thick with tension just a moment ago, finally heard a few sighs of relief. Bai Bingbing's tightly knitted brows relaxed. Her tense nerves eased a little, but she knew that given the level of the Major General's mental power collapse, death would be just a matter of time. Thinking of this, her mood sank again. Her gaze drifted toward the red dark patterns on the side of the doorway, turning dim. Meanwhile, in the warden's office, I was sound asleep. Suddenly, a piercing alarm rang out, and my heart skipped a beat. I woke up instantly from my dream and bolted upright. "Attention Warden. Cell number 2 is ringing for assistance. Please arrive within 5 minutes," the mechanical voice chimed. I rubbed my heart, which was still pounding wildly. Although I didn't know what on earth had happened, I quickly headed toward the cell block. Cell number 1 was still a complete wreck. Number 1, the butler bot, was busy with repairs. There were still bloodstains on the floor and furniture that hadn't been wiped away. I was shocked at the sight. How did it become like this in such a short time? I couldn't care about the distress call from cell number 2. I peeked into cell number 1. I didn't see the white lion anywhere. Oh my god, no way, it's only my first day on the job and someone's already trying to break out? Outside every cell door, there's an authentication scanner for the warden. I still remember what the previous warden told me. You must never, ever open those cell doors. Because not only might they try to escape, but if their mental stability collapses, they could suddenly snap and attack people in a frenzy. I pushed down my anxiety and headed toward cell number 2. "Excuse me, ma'am, is there something you need?" As my eyes landed on her, I couldn't help but be struck by how stunning she was. I had no idea Bai Ningbing could take on a human form. She was already drop-dead gorgeous in her bird of paradise beast form. In human form, every single one of her features was exquisite. With that head of vibrant, orange-red hair, she just radiated pride and arrogance. Though, right now, her eyes held more than just pride, they were filled with disgust and icy coldness. I snapped back to reality, feeling genuinely confused. When Lily brought her food earlier, other than her having a bit of a temper, she didn't seem that dissatisfied. But the moment Bai Ningbing saw the dazed, stunned look on my face, just like all the other males in the Empire, the look of revulsion on her face grew even stronger. She pointed at me, barking orders with an air of superiority. "You, go open cell number 1. Go in there and help the robotic butler with the cleaning." I nearly laughed out of sheer frustration when I heard that. Not to mention the difficulty of cleaning that room, just looking at the state of Yu Youwei's cell. I was pretty sure she might be having a mental breakdown. If I opened that door and walked in, that would be suicide. Still, it was my first day, so I kept a polite smile on my face. "I'm sorry, Lady Bai, but we aren't usually allowed to open the cell doors." Bai Ningbing actually knew that, but she also knew the Empire just wanted them to rot in here. Thinking about how Yu Youwei looked when her mental state collapsed, she couldn't help but take her anger out on me. The male the Empire had sent to succeed the last one. She gritted her teeth. She shoved the unfinished meal box out through the slot. "How about this then? Cleaning the area outside the cell. That's not asking too much, right?" I was so mad my teeth were itching. But then the image of a friend's cat knocking a water glass off the table popped into my head. Looking at Bai Ningbing's smug, triumphant smile, I suddenly imagined her beast form using her wings to cause trouble. My anger mysteriously faded away. People are just way more forgiving when it comes to fluffy creatures. "Sure thing, I'll get right on it." I walked away with a smile. Once she felt I was far enough away, Lu Mei couldn't help but chime in. "Impressive, Bai Ningbing. That male's temper is incredible. You were so rude back there, I honestly wanted to kill you." And he still managed to smile. Bai Ningbing didn't even acknowledge her. Just the thought of that guy coming over to clean later put her in a slightly better mood. She even had the number 2 robot move her chair so she could sit right by the door. I didn't keep Bai Ningbing waiting for long, because I remembered there was a butler robot tucked away in the corner of the warden's office. When I showed up to the prison with that robot, even through the blue light of the cell door, I could see Bai Ningbing's face turn bright red with fury. "You male, how dare you try to trick me?" I pursed my lips slightly, giving her an innocent look. "What's wrong? Didn't you ask for someone to clean up, Lady Bai? I never said I wanted a robot. I told you to do the cleaning." I blinked, my long eyelashes fluttering twice. making me look even more naive. But Warden, I am the one who brought the robot, aren't I? It just makes me look even more naive, Warden. But honestly, it was the robot I brought. I brought it here, that's the only way it can clean up. Doesn't that just mean I'm the one cleaning? Bai Ningbing gritted her teeth, her face dark as she stood up from her chair. She was so furious she stomped her feet on the ground, her large wings on both sides, flapping so hard they stirred up a breeze inside the cell. As the sole heir to the Bai family, one of the 4 great clans of the empire, Bai Ningbing might not have been able to call down the wind and rain at will, but no one had ever dared to cross her, let alone pull a trick like this. Even if she made the previous warden pick up discarded food off the floor, they wouldn't have dared to utter a word of protest. But this male before her, who looked so delicate, was daring enough to defy the heavens. Bai Ningbing was so angry that her mental energy was on the verge of collapsing. I hadn't expected Bai Ningbing to be this infuriated. Seeing the mirror in her cell, vibrating along with her wings, I decided it was best not to provoke her any further. I let out a sigh, took the rag from the robot, and wiped the floor a couple of times. Then, I left with the robot. Bai Ningbing let out a cold snort as she watched. Even though the male was just putting on a show, he at least did the cleaning himself. She still had her pride. Just then, Lu Mei shouted out, "Hit a wall, didn't you, Bai Ningbing? Didn't expect you to have moments where you couldn't talk your way out of something, huh? Who says? Didn't you just see it? I made that male clean up. And he did clean it. Would that male dare to disobey?" "But Bai Ningbing, said." Lu Mei rolled her eyes and said, "You've had your fun, now it's my turn." After saying that, she pressed the room's help button. I had barely sat down on the chair before I had to leave again. This time, it was cell number 4's light. I rubbed my forehead. These ladies really know how to keep me busy. As I passed by cell number 2, I glanced inside, seeing that things had calmed down in Bai Ningbing's room. I looked away and focused on cell number 4. The rabbit inside was sitting on a throne made of snow. The piled up snow had formed a crystal clear chair of ice. However, when I looked up at the rabbit, I still felt a strong sense of dissonance, like a child playing dress up as an adult. I couldn't help it, this animal was just too cute. And it was a rare species, too. My palms felt a little itchy. I couldn't imagine how soft and thick that fur would feel if I touched it. Lu Mei could naturally feel the male's gaze landing on her, but it was a bit different from the stares she usually encountered. There seemed to be a hint of peculiar affection in this male's eyes. It wasn't the frantic kind of heat from other males. And it wasn't the kind of look that wanted to swallow her whole. It felt more gentle and tolerant. My life in prison was incredibly dull, so teasing the warden had become their favorite pastime. She collected her thoughts and let the number 4 robot send the meal tray out. I took it and glanced inside. It was completely cleaned out, not even a single grain of rice left. No wonder she looked so plump. She certainly keeps herself well fed. A hidden smile tugged at my lips, and I couldn't help but offer a compliment. "Great job. You ate it all." Lu Mei, who had originally been full of bluster and trying to think of ways to boss this male around, suddenly felt her furry, round face heat up at the comment. Lu Mei shyly hid her face behind her paws. This male sure has a way with words. He even compliments me while I'm just eating. Seeing her like this, the tip of her tail, peeking out from behind her, swayed gently. My heart just melted again. Lu Mei's beast form is truly adorable, and she looks a bit like a cat. Anyone who loves cats would definitely fall for her. Her fur is a mix of brown and white, with a ring of Victorian-style white fur around her neck. Her coat is as thick as a winter parka, and she's so expressive. Her whiskers often twitch, and even when she tries to look fierce, she still looks completely harmless. Maybe it's because of how she looks in this form. I couldn't help but think of my friend's cat. Because of my job, I can't really keep pets. So whenever I feel like petting a cat, I head over to my friend's place. Whenever I see them finish the little treats I brought, I just can't help but spoil them like this. I stood there, admiring her fluffiness for a moment. But just looking at it wasn't enough to satisfy me, so I turned my gaze away. I handed the empty lunchbox to the robot, thinking I'd head to the other cells. "Do you ladies need me to pick up your lunchboxes?" I asked Ye Liuli and Yan Youwei. After the incident with Yu Youwei's mental collapse today, neither Ye Liuli nor Yan Youwei had much of an appetite. So, there was still plenty of food left in the boxes they were sent. I glanced down. It was all heavy meat dishes. They looked a bit greasy. At least these two had decent manners. They let the robot handle the delivery. They didn't just throw it on the floor like Bai Bingbing. I gave them a gentle smile. There wasn't much emotion on Ye Liuli's Black Panther face, but the corners of the red fox, Yan Youwei, seemed to curl up slightly. She even gave me a flirty wink. I guess I've been single for too long. Even a fox looks so incredibly charming to me. I felt a bit dizzy and dazed. I quickly shook my head, while a flicker of surprise flashed through Yan Youwei's crimson eyes. Behind me, Lu Mei noticed the whole thing and huffed angrily. This male is such a flirt. He was just smiling at me. And now he's smiling at other beasts? She bit her paw in frustration. She rushed over and pounded on the door, successfully getting my attention. Master Lu, is something wrong? Lu Mei bared her fangs. I want another serving of rice. No rice, just meat. And I want it in 10 minutes. If you're 1 minute late, I'll ring the alarm and annoy you all day. After hearing that, I decided to retract my earlier thought about her being harmless. Lu Mei can be a real handful when she wants to be. I calculated the distance from here to the cafeteria. 10 minutes is going to be tight. Plus, I have to plate the meat. To make sure I'm not late. I nodded immediately and headed out, rushing all the way there. I managed to get a full serving of meat back just in time. Lu Mei checked the clock. 10 minutes exactly. I was still out of breath. Her fair, pale skin looked like it had a rosy glow under the prison's natural light simulation. It was flushed and pink, and even her lips looked plump. Adding a touch of allure, Lu Mei's golden eyes scanned me up and down. Her tail flicked unconsciously, and she said, "Not bad, you actually did it." 10 minutes on the dot. Lu Mei signaled the robot to take the lunchbox. But I didn't put it in the small delivery slot on the security door. Instead, I said, "I fulfilled your request on time, Master Lu. Since there's punishment, there must be rewards, too. I delivered the food on time this time, so you have to promise not to press the call button again today." Lu Mei couldn't help but let her gaze linger on my reddened lips. She didn't even catch what I said clearly. She just nodded in a daze. It wasn't until the robot brought the food in that she realized what she'd actually agreed to. That despicable male, his spirit beast, must be a fox too. Otherwise, why would she be so lightheaded and end up agreeing to something like this? The warden says things nicely, but in reality, he's just a servant waiting on them. Why should she listen to his terms? But then again, a great female always keeps her word. She couldn't very well go back on her promise now. At that thought, Lu Mei huffed and took a big bite of meat. She got grease all over her fur again. She paused for a moment. Thinking that the male was still at the door, she didn't want to let me see her looking foolish. She quietly pushed the lunchbox around with her chopsticks and turned her back to me to eat. Her table manners were much more refined now. Watching her tail swaying in obvious delight, and seeing her round, plump back, my hands felt a bit itchy again. I scratched my hand slightly, thinking about the incident in cell number 1. I decided to go find the one who seemed to have the best attitude among the rest, Lady Yan Youwei. I'd like to ask, what happened to Yu Youwei? Why is her room in such a mess? Yan Youwei shook her head. It's not looking good. Yu Youwei had a mental breakdown today. It was quite severe this time. She even lost her sanity. No wonder the room was torn to shreds like that. I felt a lingering fear. Good thing I wasn't stupid enough to actually listen to Bai Ningbing and go inside to clean. If I had run into her, my life would have been over. So, where is she now? She's been taken to a recovery pod by the robots. Considering the nature of mental breakdowns, there are bound to be moments when things get severe. Every cell is equipped with a recovery pod. Even if the Empire really wanted them to just rot away here, they wouldn't make it look that bad on the surface, especially since all of them have such high mental power levels. They have powerful families behind them, and the Grand Princess is among them. The Black Star prison is naturally equipped with everything. I fell silent for a moment. Looking at Yan Youwei, I realized that besides Bai Ningbing, who could still shift her form, the others were all in such bad shape. Perhaps, before long, there will be another one of the beastmen in the prison who loses their mind. And when they truly lose their sanity, it actually means they don't have much time left to live. Thinking back to what I searched about Yu Youwei online, Jiang Liyuan also felt a bit of regret in his heart. It's a pity, but when a mental breakdown is this severe, there really is no other way. However, it seems that later on, the male lead finds a strange seed on some planet, which grants the power to cure these mental breakdowns. But my reading of the book was a bit skimpy. I was too focused on the romance between the leads and forgot where that happened. I let out a sigh. In the book, Yu Youwei did indeed die. I don't know exactly when, but perhaps it isn't far off now. I thanked Yan Youwei. When I passed by cell number 1, I stared at the room, which was being tidied up by the robots and becoming clean again. Watching the lunch boxes in the robots' hands, my gaze flickered. Maybe in these final moments, I can do what I can to help. Let her leave a bit more comfortably. After all, the Yu Youwei in the book was a brilliant, shining star. A great general who cared deeply for her people. After I left, Yan Youwei chuckled to herself. This new warden is actually pretty interesting. Bai Ningbing, you and Lu Mei better not scare him off too quickly. After I left, Lu Mei went right back to stuffing her face with meat, her entire face covered in grease. Her fur was damp and matted, yet she still glared viciously at Yan Youwei. Mind your own business. Stop using all those fox tricks of yours on every male you see. Fox beastmen have an innate charm ability. When activated, it makes people zone out. They become complete puppets, obeying every command. Yan Youwei had indeed tried it on that male, but he snapped out of it in just a few seconds. It was completely beyond her expectations. Even the formidable Yu Youwei had taken over 10 seconds to break free back then. Thinking of this, her laughter grew even more reckless as she whispered to herself. Definitely interesting. As lunchtime approached, I went to check the kitchen early. The kitchen robots were still working in an orderly fashion. Every single step strictly controlled food hygiene. Very good. It's just that the flavor is too monotonous, and it's nothing but meat. I picked at a few kinds of meat, but I felt sick of it after just one bite. Still, I just transmigrated here. And having stayed in the capital star for a few days, I have a rough idea of the prices. This cuckoo beast meat, which tastes like dried chicken, is extremely expensive. In this world, everyone gets a monthly subsidy of about 2,000 new credits. Even if I didn't work, I could survive on this, but just existing and living well are two different things. Vegetables are cheap these days, but meat is much more expensive. The meat is usually tough, and the only one I can tolerate is the cuckoo beast. Unfortunately, a pound of cuckoo meat costs 200 new credits. I can't afford that, and yet, the Black Star prison cafeteria is filled with nothing but cuckoo meat. I tasted it. There's also another kind called Gaga beast meat, a bit tougher than pork. That's pretty good too, but I bet it's not cheap either. These robots just boil all the meat, using the same method for everything. Besides salt, there are no other seasonings. It's way too bland for my taste. I searched around the kitchen myself and found a fresh-keeping warehouse inside. It had plenty of spices, along with vegetables and side dishes. My eyes lit up, and I happily took some things out. I checked the time and decided to make a green pepper and mushroom stir-fry. A mushroom and meat stir-fry, and I'll whip up a Gaga beast soup. I'll add some nourishing medicinal herbs and toss in a few red dates at the end. It'll be sweet, savory, and rich. That'll be great. The robots packed the meal boxes for the adults on time, and I grabbed 2 extra boxes for my own cooking. One for myself, and one to give to Yu Youwei later. It's my first time cooking this, so I'm worried she might not like it. It wasn't a huge amount, just enough to fill 2 boxes perfectly. I tucked the boxes into my spatial pouch with satisfaction and headed out on time to deliver the meals. The healing pods in this world are incredibly effective. Within just 2 or 3 hours, Yu Youwei was back in the prison, good as new. She seemed to have just taken a bath. Her fur hadn't fully dried yet, looking distinct and fluffy. And it was slightly puffed up, which just made me want to brush it for her. At first glance, she didn't seem different, but I noticed something about her 2 front paws. The fur on her body has thinned out quite a bit, to the point where you can even see the pinkish skin underneath. But fortunately, this time, Yu Youwei is still alive. I flashed a smile and asked with concern, "Are you alright, Officer Yu?" Yu Youwei rarely heard such a title. Everyone was more used to calling her General. For a moment, it felt like a lifetime ago to her. She was no longer that general on the battlefield. Her ice blue eyes landed on me. Her white lion form carried an inherent air of cold aloofness. Yet in reality, she felt like a soft water lily, gentle and mild. Even though she had just been through such a major ordeal, there wasn't a hint of self-pity in her eyes. She nodded softly. "Thank you for your concern, Warden. As long as you're okay now, that's what matters." I let out an almost imperceptible sigh of relief, then took out 2 lunchboxes. One was packed by the robot, and the other was made by me. I set the lunchboxes on the windowsill. "It's like this. I figured since you were just injured, I made you some nutritious soup. It should help improve your diet. Feel free to give it a try. I'm not sure if it's to your taste, but if you don't like it." The cafeteria meals arrived as well, and a touch of repressed emotion flickered in Yu Youwei's eyes. She looked at me closely, catching the genuine sincerity in my eyes. One devoid of any ulterior motives, unlike the wardens of the past. Her eyes grew even softer. "Thank you." After saying that, she had the robot bring the 2 boxes over, specifically instructing it to be careful. Yu Youwei gently used her paw to open the lunchbox I had brought. Seeing the green chili peppers and the unique dishes she had never seen here before, her pink nose twitched. "It smells delicious. I really like it." Her voice seemed even gentler than before, a timbre that carried a soothing, peaceful quality. Like a refreshing breeze. Strangely enough, my face flushed a little. I couldn't help but think of the photo of Yu Youwei I had seen online today. Dressed in a black and gold military uniform, her features striking and handsome. Her ice blue eyes were focused, conveying a sense of cold, composed authority. The contrast with the gentleness before me was quite significant. At the time, I just thought it was okay. But now, comparing the two, there was a heart-tugging kind of gap mo, that charming contrast. Perhaps annoyed that the 2 of us were staring at each other, Bai Ningbing, noticing she was being ignored, slammed her wings against the door and shouted, "You trying to starve us to death?" I snapped out of it. Hearing Bai Ningbing's words, my heart skipped a beat. I took a deep breath, turned around, and quickly placed the food at the window. The next second, I moved to the next room. When I saw Bai Ningbing open her lunchbox, for some reason, Yu Youwei's gaze drifted over. Seeing her grumbling and slapping at the bowl, saying, "This terrible food again," she silently lowered her eyelids. So, she was the only one who got special treatment. Of course, out of everyone in the prison, Yu Youwei was still the one who left the best impression on me. The others were still like high-maintenance divas, and cooking wasn't exactly an easy task. I didn't want to ask for trouble and end up being criticized again. This time when I delivered the meals, everyone didn't say anything more. Only Lu Mei seemed a bit sulky. She nudged her empty bowl with her paw and had the robot bring it back to me. She kept her promise and didn't press the buzzer to bother me again. But after I took the bowl, she gave me a few extra looks. Almost as if she were expecting something, though after a long moment, she just gave me a weird, fierce hiss. She turned and gave me nothing but her round little backside. They say a woman's heart is as deep as the ocean, and it's really true. I didn't think too much about it. After delivering the food, I went back to eat my own meal. I've been independent since I was little. I escaped my birth family, who favored boys over girls, a long time ago and had no one to lean on. I could only rely on my own hard work, but back in the early days of making money. I worked from dawn till dusk and ended up with stomach problems, later, when I had the money. I had a housekeeper ensure I had 3 meals a day to slowly get my health back. I was a child who had truly been through the ringer. My cooking isn't bad at all. I took a bite and felt quite touched. Truly, food is the most important thing for the people. Delicious food really does have the power to heal the soul. Worried that Yu Youwei might not be used to my cooking the first time, I had made a larger portion in my lunchbox than hers. Before long, I polished it all off. I felt like my appetite had grown quite a bit. I even wanted a little dessert. As soon as the thought hit me, I went for it. Technology really does free up a lazy person's hands. I just needed to put the ingredients into the robot's prep slot. Just the settings, and wait to eat. In less than 5 minutes, I had freshly baked strawberry cream cupcakes. They were still steaming hot. I just licked a little bit of the cream. My eyes lit up. The robot made it even smoother than any human could. I had prepared the ingredients and ended up making 12. I shamelessly kept 7 for my afternoon tea and planned to give the rest to the big shots in the prison as a treat. I took the cupcakes and the butler robot to the prison. I could deliver the cakes and collect the meal boxes at the same time. Yu Youwei seemed to have a good habit of not wasting food. I received 2 perfectly licked clean meal boxes. Seeing she had finished it all, I felt a sense of happiness at being acknowledged. It seemed Yu Youwei hadn't lied to herself. She really did like it. Full and satisfied, she was curled up on the bed. Her long, snow-white tail was sweeping lazily across the bed. Her eyes were tightly closed, but hearing me approach, she opened her glass-like blue eyes. "Warden, you're here." I smiled in response. I placed the cupcakes in the delivery slot. "I'm giving you all some dessert. You can have a taste. If you like them, I can make more next time." Yu Youwei heard the word all. She understood that this time, it wasn't just for her. Yet, she didn't feel unhappy at all. On the contrary, she was very grateful that I could think of them. This was something the previous wardens had never thought to do. She curiously looked toward the window. She saw the red strawberries on the white cream. It was as if she could smell the fragrance of the cake even from that far away. "Thank you, Warden. You're very thoughtful." As she spoke, she had the robot carefully bring the cake over to her. The cupcakes were about the size of a muffin. They looked even smaller in front of the white lion's massive frame. It seemed like a single bite wouldn't even be enough to get between her teeth. I watched her lower her head to sniff the cupcake, which was barely larger than the white lion's pink nose. By accident, Yu Youwei got a little on her nose. She instinctively licked the sweet taste off the tip of her nose. Only then did she remember me standing at the doorway. A flash of embarrassment quickly crossed her icy blue eyes. Luckily, I didn't get a good look at her expression. I just felt like this cake was suddenly a bit embarrassing to hand over. "It's way too small, isn't it?" I felt awkward and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. I quickly changed the subject. "Oh, by the way, my name is Jiang Liyuan. You don't have to call me Warden. Just use my name. Got it?" The white lion bowed its head, its ears flushed with heat, and gave a small nod with its massive head. After I delivered the little cakes, I collected the empty lunchboxes and headed over to cell number 2. This time, Bai Ningbing didn't waste anything either. She had eaten every bit of the food. When she saw me walk over, she couldn't help but huff coldly again. It was clear she was still holding a grudge about this morning. I wasn't about to indulge her unreasonable temper. I set down the cake and said with polite detachment, "Dessert." Then I turned to leave. Bai Ningbing had obviously heard about it too. I had prepared some for everyone this time. Even though she was satisfied with my thoughtful after-meal service, she was fuming. Why did I only say one sentence to her? And she had finished her meal, too. Why did I praise that dwarf beast but not her? She started banging on the security door with a loud thud thud thud. I stepped back. "What's wrong now?" Bai Ningbing said with obvious dissatisfaction. "Only one?" I raised an eyebrow. "If you don't want to eat it, forget it." "Who said I didn't want to eat it?" Bai Ningbing, terrified I'd take the cake back, immediately popped it into her mouth, then looked at me with a smug, triumphant look. "Childish," I muttered under my breath. Meanwhile, as Bai Ningbing ate her treat, she was busy calculating how many times I had spoken to her versus the others. She felt slightly better, though it was clear the main troublemakers were still Bai Ningbing and Lu Mei. Ye Liuli didn't say much, just gave a quiet thank you. She let the robot take the cake and then vanished back into the shadows. I glanced out of the corner of my eye at cell number 3. It got darker the further in you looked. Ye Liuli was nowhere to be seen, only heard. I looked away. I reached Lu Mei's cell. She had been a lot better behaved after what happened this morning. After taking the little cake, she curiously took a lick. She couldn't help but look at me with those crystal clear, golden yellow eyes. Will there be more next time? Lu Mei couldn't even remember the last time she'd had dessert. Since coming here, all she'd done was cause trouble with Bai Ningbing. In the prison, she lived a life that felt like being kept in a cage, one boring day after another. She had almost forgotten how peaceful and happy her life used to be. Lu Mei was born a bit frail, and had always been a pampered young lady of the Mo family. Despite being delicate, her mental power had reached the double S level. The 4 great families of the empire had a duty to work with the military to maintain national security. It just so happened that her sister was injured and in the middle of a heat cycle. So she had joined that operation to eradicate the Zerg. At the time, Bai Ningbing, Yu Youwei, and Ye Liuli, and Yan Huishui were all there. The Zerg invasion was severe. A new mutated species had appeared, with an incredibly strong ability to reproduce. The scale of the battle was massive, and it was after this incident that those of them with mental powers of double S or higher began to suffer from mental collapse. That new mutated species was the trigger for their mental instability. Lu Mei pulled her thoughts back to the present. She was nibbling at her cake, taking tiny bites while her eyes were still fixed on me, wide and expectant. Listening to the sound of her voice, I couldn't help but think, after all, she's still just a kid. But was trapped in this small world, just waiting for death to arrive. My heart softened unexpectedly. Of course, there was also remembering that in my space pouch, apart from the ones I'd already tasted, I still had 6 left. I couldn't help but take out another one. Lu Mei's eyes lit up when she saw it. But then she realized how embarrassing she looked, thinking back to how unsophisticated she must have seemed just a moment ago. She turned her back to me again, silently and with feigned composure, ordering the robot to take the cake. Yet her tail wagged like a happy puppy, moving much faster than usual. It completely betrayed her joyful mood to me, oblivious to the fact. Seeing this, I didn't feel a bit of heartache about losing more of my afternoon tea. Besides, I can make whatever I want to eat whenever I'm outside. I really shouldn't be too obviously biased. In the end, everyone got 2. Yan Huishui doesn't really like sweets that much. Seeing how hesitant I looked taking it out, she chuckled and said, "Just give me one. I don't eat many sweets." "Sure thing." I happily tucked one back away. Thinking for a moment, I added, "Then next time, I'll make you something else that isn't quite as sugary." "Thank you, Jiang Liyuan. Can I call you by your first name?" Yan Huishui asked softly, her crimson eyes shimmering like flowing water. Her deep, low voice had a subtle, hook-like quality when she said my name. It was enough to make anyone's heart itch just hearing it, but after a few times, I had barely built up some immunity and quickly snapped out of it. "Sure." Yan Huishui's eyes flashed for a second. There was a sudden spark of amusement in her deep gaze. Upon hearing the conversation between Yan Huishui and me, Yu Youwei lowered her eyes, not touching that extra little cake. As I walked by, she called out my name with a bit of awkwardness. "Jiang Liyuan, the lunch you made today was delicious. I'm already full from the meal, so I can't finish this little cake. Don't let it go to waste. You take it." I was convinced by her words. Although I felt that the little cake I made really wasn't enough to satisfy someone like her. I figured Yu Youwei had no reason to lie about something like this. Bai Ningbing was watching Yu Youwei through the 2 protective doors, wanting to say something but holding back, muttering to herself. Since when did Major General Yu have such a small appetite? But blinded by her idol halo, she didn't say anything. In fact, when she saw me looking over, she moved with lightning speed and shoved that little cake into her mouth. Bai Ningbing realized what she had just done, and her face turned bright red instantly. She had actually done something so embarrassing. Under my gaze, which was a mix of speechlessness and amusement, she felt her face getting hotter and hotter. She immediately turned back into her original form, tucking her head deep into her wings, and started preening her feathers as if nothing had happened. Even though sometimes I find Bai Ningbing quite annoying, I have to admit, as soon as I see her beast form, I'm conquered by her beauty all over again. Looking closely, although her entire body is covered in white, the tip of every single feather has a hint of pale yellow. Her feathers look so vibrant and gorgeous, they're even bright enough to reflect light indoors. I couldn't help but linger for a few extra looks, then remembered how she didn't want me to watch her in the morning, and covered the door, so I silently looked away. The lunchboxes were collected, the afternoon tea was delivered, and I even got to admire a whole group of different, charming fluffy creatures. I didn't stay in the prison long, and in a great mood, I left the place with the robot carrying the pile of lunchboxes. I was full and feeling a bit sleepy, so I found a nap bed in the warden's office and drifted off. I slept really well, but it felt like I'd eaten some poisoned mushrooms. My dreams were full of little mushroom people waving at me. When I finally woke up, I smacked my lips and decided that I'd have mushroom soup for dinner. Just as I was about to try and show a bit of presence, the green mushroom that had popped out of my head quietly tucked itself back in. My old job was in travel photography, so I had to run all over the country. My absolute favorite place was Yunnan. I'd have to get my fix of mushroom hot pot every single time I visited. I've even had a few episodes where the mushrooms weren't fully cooked and I ended up in the hospital. This dream brought back all those memories of mushroom hot pot, and the rest of the afternoon passed by peacefully. As it got close to dinner time, I went to the kitchen's pantry early to hunt for mushrooms. In the end, I only found shiitake, oyster, and enoki mushrooms, just those 3. There are some real big shots living here at the Black Star Estate. So the supplies they get are usually top tier. It didn't make sense that these were the only ones. I couldn't help but look it up online, and that's when I finally understood why. It turns out that because of the Zerg outbreak in this world, many varieties of vegetables and plants had gone extinct. But for the ones that didn't, scientists used preserved seeds to cultivate many types of vegetables and even distributed the seeds for free. They taught the public how to grow them, which led to a huge increase in standard vegetables on the market. Who would have guessed that later on, the Zerg would mutate and start eating meat too, which is exactly why meat is so expensive now. As for why vegetables are so cheap, there's another reason. Humanity's evolution toward beast-kin traits means our demand for meat is much higher. Things are valued for their scarcity, and I know all too well about the Zerg eating meat. After all, that's how the original protagonist in the book died. Thinking of that, I couldn't help but shudder and quickly pulled myself together. I decided to just use these 3 types to make a mixed mushroom soup and made a little cold tossed side dish with the leftover enoki mushrooms. I also stir-fried some greens, a perfect balance of meat and veggies. I prepared a portion for Yu Youwei as usual, and added some extra meat from the robot's dinner menu. It was a huge, packed container, and I didn't forget about everyone's dessert either. It was still a bit short this time, which Yu Youwei noticed. This dinner was exclusively food I had made by hand just for her. A flash of secret joy flickered in her eyes. Though I didn't know where it came from, she inexplicably felt a sense of being favored. She couldn't help but look at me deeply, then calmly let out a single sentence. "Thank you, Jiang Liyuan. It's nothing, don't mention it." I looked at her with a smile, knowing that the person I was giving special care to was my own idol. Bai Ningbing thought about the extent of Yu Youwei's mental collapse and didn't make a sound. She just felt very strange inside, a bit stifled. So much so that when I delivered her food this time, I felt like she had suddenly become much quieter, not saying a single word from start to finish. Even though I wasn't quite used to it, I didn't ask anything. I continued to deliver meals and desserts to the others one by one, and Ye Liuli also whispered a thank you. Before I could even see her properly, Lu Mei was cheering happily. "What kind of yummy dessert did you make this time?" "Oh, it's rice cake. It wasn't too sweet or greasy." Lu Mei had never tasted anything like this before. Her golden eyes went wide, and she quickly had the robot bring it over for a closer look. She couldn't help but sneak a taste, her bright red tongue darting quickly across the off-white pastry. She hesitated for a moment. "It's not sweet enough. I wanted the strawberry cake from lunch, but it's all gone now. If you want some, I'll bring you some next time." "Really? Can I order something else, too?" Seeing Lu Mei's request, I pretended to hesitate. Just as she was about to get annoyed and take it back, I curled my lips into a smile and said, "Sure, but on the condition that you can't just press the buzzer and bother me for no reason." "Fine." Lu Mei accepted my proposal. She still muttered a reluctant rebuttal, her little fangs peeking out from the corners of her lips. I only hit the buzzer a lot today because I actually needed something. But under my half-smiling gaze, she thought back to our bet from this morning and started losing her nerve. Even the way her tail swayed became much smaller, and her 2 fluffy ears drooped down. Seeing her looking like a cat that had just done something wrong, with such a human-like expression of guilt, my heart was completely melted. I really wanted to go over, hold her, and pet her. It would definitely feel amazing, but for the sake of my own safety. And since we aren't familiar enough yet, I shouldn't take that kind of risk just to satisfy my own urges. Full of regret, I went over to Yan Hushui's side. When she heard Lu Mei's voice, she knew this pastry was something I had made specifically for her. The elegant 9-tailed fox slowly approached the security door. Separated by what looked like a thin light screen, she tilted her fox head up. Her tail swayed gently, her eyes shimmering. She whispered a thank you, and this time, I was left stunned for quite a while. My eyes were fixed on those 9 red tails. I felt as if I had suddenly drifted from a sci-fi world into a fantasy one. Everything was just so unbelievable. A real 9-tailed fox. I had actually seen one. Noticing this, a flash of golden light darted through Yan Hushui's eyes. The warden's job has no days off all year round, but everyone can apply for 30 days of leave per year for special circumstances. This job seems quite demanding, but the pay is very high. And after working for a full day today, I didn't feel it was as difficult as I had imagined. I don't know why over a dozen people quit before me. Rather than a warden, I feel more like a zookeeper. I have to carefully look after the animals in my park. Thinking of that comparison, I suddenly found it fittingly hilarious. Still, this job is pretty laid back. There's no one looking over my shoulder, and I can eat whatever I want. After dinner, I curled up in the warden's office to binge watch a show. The dramas of this era are inseparable from the current social environment. There are far more females who watch these dramas than males, and they're all about things like males spoiling their partners, monogamy, and things like that. I feel a sense of cultural disconnect. Like everything is still hazy and unreal, as if I had suddenly transmigrated into a book. But after watching for a while, it's actually quite interesting. Watching women on TV fighting for favor, with endless schemes and tactics, I shouted, "That's brilliant." When it was almost time to clock out, I turned off the screen projection on my wrist chip. Then I went for a stroll around the prison to tell the ladies that I was heading home. If you need anything, speak up now. If not, I'm going back to rest. Yu Youwei spoke up. Number. Get some rest early then. I smiled. Okay. After that, I happily went home. Once I left, the prison returned to its usual rhythm. Activating her innate gift, Lu Mei was the first to speak up. Alright, Lu Mei replied. Immediately, robots from every room began layering ice over the doors to freeze them temporarily. A special talent only possessed by beasts with high psychic power. These protective doors could block their psychic energy from leaking out, but their innate abilities could still be put to some use. Take Bai Ningbing, for example. Her ability is limited strictly by her psychic capacity. Her power is relatively weak, only able to manifest at 1/10 of her usual strength. This ice layer should last about 5 minutes, that'll be enough. Ye Liuli's green eyes shone in the darkness. The group of beasts all turned focused, whenever Lu Mei needed to unleash her talent. It meant something important was about to be discussed, a tacit understanding they had developed during their time imprisoned together on Black Star. Even Bai Ningbing stopped dwelling on the gloom lingering in her heart, as Ye Liuli calmly began her report. I had my subordinates look into him. This male's family background is simple. He's an orphan, and he doesn't belong to anyone behind the scenes. He volunteered for the job at Black Star. He was assigned here by chance. The Empire's work application system has a special mechanism. Males are prioritized, though the system is often a bit hit or miss. But in cases like Black Star, where no one else applies voluntarily, even if the basic requirements aren't fully met, they still get hired. Jiang Liyuan, a student at the Imperial Capital Academy with F-level psychic power. A fertility spirit. Based on the current situation, there doesn't seem to be any risk. Ye Liuli shared the findings from her subordinates in detail. F-level psychic power of fertility spirit? Yan Huishui repeated in a low voice, before letting out a soft, mocking laugh. So he's a useless male. But whether this useless male was planted on purpose, we still need to observe. This male is not simple. He was able to resist my Fox Clan talent. Perhaps the information you saw, Big Princess, was fabricated by someone with an agenda. Hearing that Yan Huishui had already used her talent on him, Lu Mei couldn't help but protest. Yan Huishui, you vixen. Using those skills on an innocent male. You have the nerve to lecture me? What? Are you jealous and want me to use it on you instead? Yan Huishui's eyes flickered with flirtatious charm. Her stunning red figure looked across the barrier at her, and Lu Mei quickly covered her eyes with her paws. Shameless. It's only been a day. Lu Mei, don't tell me you've been bought off by his little favors? Maybe he was sent by someone in the Empire to keep an eye on us. Or to poison us. Lu Mei became even more indignant at the accusation. Nonsense. Do you think I'm stupid? I just can't stand the way you go around seducing males. He isn't your property. Why are you so worked up? Lu Mei was at a loss for words. Her face, hidden beneath thick fur, felt hot and bothered, not knowing which sensitive words had triggered her. Seeing the two of them nearly at each other's throats on opposite sides of the barrier. Yu Youwei, who had been listening to the briefing with her eyes closed, opened them and spoke with a hint of displeasure. Now is not the time to argue. In the military, Yu Youwei was a stern major general. She was once known for her iron-blooded tactics, though in private, she was actually a very gentle person. She rarely lost her temper, but the moment she turned serious, the aura of a major general was unmistakably clear. Lu Mei and Yan Huishui felt the coldness beneath her words. All plans have fallen through. Yu Youwei is still detained. Since we still can't confirm Jiang Liyuan's true identity for the time being, everyone, please stop giving him a hard time for now. In the past, Yu Youwei would just turn a blind eye, because the previous wardens were all more or less tied to people in the Empire, serving as a secondary form of surveillance. Nobody wants to be watched around the clock, so even when Bai Ningbing and the others did some pretty nasty things, like intimidating those people, Yu Youwei never said a word. But this time is different. Jiang Liyuan might be innocent. Not to mention, he's a distinguished male of the Empire, even if his psychic power and vitality are pitifully low. Clearly, no one had any further objections to that. Besides, Lu Mei's innate time control skill was about to wear off, and the ice on the robot was already starting to melt. They tacitly avoided bringing up my identity, and Jiang Liyuan remained completely oblivious to what had happened in the prison. After getting past the awkwardness of my first day, I started to get a general feel for the people in the prison. My work became much easier after that. The ones who rang for me the most were Bai Ningbing and Lu Mei. Occasionally, Yan Huishui would buzz for me too. Only Yu Youwei and Ye Liuli never rang at all. Yan Hushui's requests were pretty simple. She loved flowers. She'd have me pick fresh ones for her from the garden inside the prison complex. She also loved soaking in the hot springs, and would often use those flower petals for a bath. She really knew how to enjoy life. As for Bai Ningbing and Lu Mei, it was hard to say what they were up to. But they were just small requests, not really trying to give me a hard time. I could handle it, and I don't know if it's because I've been putting effort into making everyone's meals and desserts every day. But their attitudes toward me improved quite a bit, and it wasn't as hostile as it was that first day with Bai Ningbing. The tension settled down, and we lived in peace like that for a whole month. With Yu Youwei eating the meals I made, she hadn't had any more psychic collapses. The others seemed stable too, and the prison stayed perfectly quiet. With only the 6 of them on the planet, I felt like I was living in total isolation. For a moment, it felt like a quiet, peaceful life, and I no longer felt the anxiety that gave me nightmares when I first realized I'd transmigrated into this book. 2 days later, a warp ship landed on the Black Planet. It brought the first visitor since I started my post. The ship's landing pad was quite a distance from the prison. The visitor reached the main gate but couldn't get in, so a robot notified me. I walked curiously toward the gate and saw a tall figure from a distance. It was a young woman wearing a camel-colored coat. She had on a pair of leather boots and wore gold-rimmed glasses. She looked very refined and gentlemanly. Once she saw me approaching, the woman introduced herself in a friendly tone. "Hello. Are you the warden? I'm Song Yaoji, the personal assistant to Her Highness, the First Imperial Princess. I'm here to see her, Her Highness." Of the people in the prison, I only knew Yu Youwei's background. I knew the others were someone special, but I never expected a princess to be among them. Seeing my confusion, Song Yaoji added, "Her Highness, Ye Liuli. Oh, one moment, let me contact her and ask. I have a warden's communicator, which works within the prison signal range. It allows me to talk to everyone inside." I entered the code for number 03. Soon, a holographic feed popped up from Ye Liuli's end, but it was pitch black. All I could see were a pair of green eyes glowing in the dark. "What is it?" We rarely spoke, and I could hear a hint of confusion beneath her naturally cold, indifferent tone. I explained the situation briefly, then pointed the camera toward Song Yaoji. "Lady Ye Liuli, this person says they're your subordinate and are here to see you. You know how it is, until I'm sure who they are and get the go-ahead from Warden Song. I'm not letting just anyone in. I don't want to cause any trouble for myself, just to be safe." Song Yaoji's face lit up with excitement. "Your Highness, the First Princess. It's me, Song Yaoji. Why are you here?" Ye Liuli asked, looking puzzled. Then, as if realizing something, she added, "Is there progress on the research?" Song Yaoji nodded happily. Seeing this, Ye Liuli called out, "Jiang Liyuan, let her in." "Got it," I replied, nodding. I unlocked the door and hung up the comms device. I looked at the visitor with a slightly apologetic expression. "Our warden is strict. We can't just let anyone in for visits." "Sorry to keep you waiting." Song Yaoji looked completely understanding. "I get it. That's how the wardens have always been." On the way to the prison cells, she couldn't help but ask out of curiosity, "Sir, you're a male, why would you choose to work on such a remote planet?" I gave a small smile. "Just a twist of fate." "Oh, I see. It must be tough for a man to be out here all by himself. You must miss your family a lot, then?" I said, my voice dropping. "Actually, I'm an orphan. My apologies." Song Yaoji replied with a simple acknowledgement and didn't press any further. I let out a quiet sigh of relief. I don't really have much attachment to family, so it honestly makes no difference whether I'm an orphan or not. Besides, even if I weren't an orphan now, it's not like I'd have parents who actually care about me anyway.